The massive holographic display flickered to life in the center of the Zephyrian War Council chamber, casting an eerie blue glow across the assembled faces of the galaxy's most powerful military leaders. Admiral Kexthor's forearms gestured dramatically as he pointed toward the swirling mass of data streams flowing across the projection. Honored council members, his voice resonated through the chamber's acoustic amplifiers, I present to you our latest conquest. Designation, Sol 3, a primitive backwater planet in the outer spiral arm. Our advanced fleet encountered minimal resistance during the initial bombardment phase. The other council members leaned forward in their bioform chairs, their various appendages clicking and rustling with interest. General Vashti, her crystalline skin refracting the hologram's light into prismatic rainbows, spoke first. Minimal resistance? Define minimal, Admiral. Our intelligence reports suggested this species possessed crude nuclear capabilities. Kexthor's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his species. Indeed, General. They launched approximately 47 nuclear missiles at our fleet. Primitive fusion warheads, barely registering on our defensive screens. Our point defense systems eliminated them before they could achieve proximity detonation. The species appears to have exhausted their primary defensive capabilities in that futile gesture. Commander Zeal, a massive creature whose bulk filled nearly half of his designated seating area, rumbled his approval. Excellent. How long before we can begin mining operations? My geological surveys indicate substantial deposits of rare earth elements, particularly in the northern continental masses. That brings us to an interesting development, Kexthor continued, manipulating the holographic controls with practiced efficiency. After our bombardment of their primary military installations and communication networks, we expected immediate surrender. Instead, we received this. The hologram shifted, displaying what appeared to be a crude electromagnetic transmission. The audio crackled with static as a distinctly alien voice began speaking in the primitive language of the conquered species. This is General Patricia Morrison, Joint Chiefs of Staff, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Defense Coalition. We have received your demands for unconditional surrender and wish to inform you that Earth's response is as follows: go to hell. The council chamber fell silent except for the gentle hum of the ship's atmospheric processors. Several members exchanged glances, their expressions ranging from confusion to mild amusement. Admiral, General Vashti's voice carried a note of uncertainty. Did this primitive just refuse our surrender demands? It appears so, General. But there's more. Kexthor's expression grew troubled. This transmission was followed by a series of coordinated attacks on our ground forces. Not from their military, mind you, but from what appear to be civilian populations. The hologram shifted again, displaying tactical readouts from the surface operations. Red indicators flashed across urban areas, marking engagement zones where Zephyrian forces had encountered resistance. Show me these engagement reports, Commander Zeal demanded, his voice taking on a more serious tone. Kexthor complied, bringing up detailed battlefield analyses. In what they called New York City, our peacekeeping forces were attacked by individuals using crude projectile weapons. But, here's what concerns me, they weren't military personnel. According to our bioscans, these were shopkeepers, teachers, construction workers, even juveniles barely past their species' maturation age. Juveniles? General Vashti's voice pitched higher. They're young attack-trained Zephyrian soldiers? With apparent success in several instances, Kexthor admitted reluctantly. In one documented case, a human female aged approximately 60 local years eliminated an entire patrol squad using nothing but explosive devices crafted from household chemicals and what they call cooking oil. The council members began murmuring among themselves, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and subsonic rumbles. Sub-Admiral Thex, whose serpentine form had remained coiled silently until now, finally spoke. Admiral, these reports are unusual. In 3,000 years of expansion, we have never encountered a species that continued fighting after their primary military infrastructure was eliminated. Most civilizations recognize the futility of resistance once we demonstrate our superior capabilities. Kexthor nodded grimly. That's precisely what concerns me, Sub-Admiral. But the situation deteriorates further. Yesterday, we received intelligence that the humans have begun manufacturing weapons specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in our combat armor. Impossible, General Vashti interjected. They couldn't have analyzed our technology that quickly.
Their metallurgy is centuries behind our own.
That's what I thought as well, Kextor replied, manipulating the hologram to display captured human weapons. Yet somehow, they've developed projectile rounds capable of penetrating our standard infantry protection. Worse still, they appear to be mass-producing these weapons using their industrial infrastructure, which we failed to completely eliminate in the initial bombardment.
The weapons displayed on the hologram were crude by galactic standards, bulky, primitive, obviously hand-manufactured.
Yet the tactical reports indicated they were devastatingly effective against Zephyrian forces. Commander Zeal leaned forward, his massive frame creaking ominously.
Are you telling us that this primitive species is successfully resisting our occupation forces? Not just resisting, Kextor corrected. They're adapting.
Every day they develop new tactics, new weapons, new strategies. Yesterday, they began using their transportation network, crude-wheeled vehicles, as delivery systems for explosive devices.
Our patrols can no longer safely traverse their urban areas. What about their rural regions? Sub-Admiral Thex inquired. Surely the agricultural populations are more compliant? Kextor's mandibles clicked nervously. Actually, the rural populations have proven even more problematic.
Apparently, many of them possess experience with hunting and what they called guerrilla warfare tactics. Our forces are being systematically eliminated by individuals who seem to materialize from the wilderness, strike with precision, and then vanish without a trace.
The hologram displayed thermal imaging from surface operations, showing Zephyrian patrols being systematically picked apart by invisible attackers.
The footage was unsettling, professional soldiers of the galaxy's most advanced military force being outmaneuvered by what appeared to be farmers and woodspeople. There must be some explanation, General Vashti insisted.
Perhaps they received military aid from another species? The Andromedans have been expanding their influence in this sector.
Negative, Kextor replied. Our deep space monitoring has detected no external interference. These tactics appear to be indigenous to their culture.
In fact, our xenoanthropology team has prepared a preliminary report on human social structure that I believe you should review.
The display shifted to show cultural analysis data. Graphs and charts detailed human social organization, historical patterns, and behavioral predictions. According to our analysis, Kextor continued, this species has spent the majority of its recorded history engaged in warfare not just with external threats, but with themselves. They appear to have developed an extraordinarily sophisticated understanding of military tactics and strategic thinking through constant interspecies conflict.
Constant conflict?
Commander Zeal's voice carried a note of disbelief.
You mean they fight each other? Extensively and continuously, Kextor confirmed.
Our historians estimate they've engaged in over 14,000 documented wars in the past 5,000 local years. They've developed weapons, tactics, and strategies specifically designed to overcome opponents with superior technology and numbers.
The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in.
General Vashti was the first to speak, her voice barely above a whisper.
Admiral, are you suggesting that we've invaded a planet populated entirely by warriors? Not exactly, General. What I'm suggesting is far worse, we've invaded a planet populated by survivors.
Every human alive today is descended from generations of individuals who successfully navigated constant warfare, resource scarcity, environmental catastrophes, and technological challenges. They've been naturally selected for adaptability, resilience, and creative problem-solving under extreme duress.
Sub-Admiral Thex coiled more tightly, a sign of stress among his species. Surely you're exaggerating, Admiral.
No species could maintain such a level of constant conflict and still achieve technological advancement. Kextor manipulated the controls, bringing up historical data about human technological development.
On the contrary, Sub-Admiral. Conflict appears to be their primary driver of innovation.
According to our analysis, their most significant technological advances have occurred during periods of intense warfare. They developed powered flight, electronic communication, nuclear energy, and space travel all within a single century, primarily motivated by military applications. The holographic display showed a timeline of human technological advancement, with warfare-related innovations highlighted in red. The pattern was undeniable, every major breakthrough had military origins.
Their approach to problem-solving is unlike anything we've encountered, Kextor continued.
When faced with our superior technology, instead of surrendering, they immediately began reverse engineering captured equipment and developing countermeasures. Our intelligence indicates they've already begun incorporating salvaged components from our destroyed vehicles into their improvised weapons.
Commander Zeal's bulk shifted uneasily. What are your recommendations, Admiral? Kexthor's forearms spread in a gesture of uncertainty. Honestly? I'm not sure we have good options.
Our current force deployment is sufficient to maintain orbital superiority and limited territorial control, but we lack the numbers for complete planetary pacification. The humans show no signs of accepting defeat, and their resistance capabilities are increasing daily.
Surely you're not suggesting we withdraw?
General Vashti's crystalline features hardened.
The Zephyrian Empire does not retreat from primitive worlds.
I'm suggesting we may have underestimated the situation, Kexthor replied carefully.
This isn't a primitive world, it's a military academy disguised as a planet.
Every civilian is a potential combatant, every piece of infrastructure is a potential weapon, and every tactical victory we achieve teaches them how to defeat us more effectively. The council members exchanged troubled glances. The implications of Kexthor's report were staggering.
If true, they faced an unprecedented situation in the Empire's expansion history. Admiral, Sub-Admiral Fex's voice carried a dangerous edge. Are you telling us that the mighty Zephyrian military machine is being held at bay by a single primitive planet? Before Kexthor could respond, an urgent communication indicator began flashing on the chamber's control panel.
The Admiral activated the incoming transmission, and the face of a field commander appeared on the display.
The officer's features were strained with exhaustion and something that looked suspiciously like fear. Admiral Kexthor, this is Colonel Mextar reporting from Surface Base Alpha.
We have a situation that requires immediate council attention.
Proceed, Colonel, Kexthor responded, though his mandibles clicked with nervous energy.
Sir, the humans have just demonstrated a capability that defies our understanding of their technological level. 30 minutes ago, they executed a coordinated strike against all 7 of our primary surface installations simultaneously. The council members leaned forward intently.
General Vashti spoke first. Impossible.
Our bases are separated by thousands of kilometers and protected by overlapping defense grids.
Yes, General, which is what makes this so concerning, Colonel Mextar continued.
The attacks were perfectly synchronized and appeared to target specific vulnerabilities in our defensive systems, vulnerabilities that should have been impossible for them to identify without detailed technical specifications of our equipment.
The holographic display shifted to show tactical readouts from the attacked bases.
The damage patterns were precise, surgical, and devastatingly effective.
How? Commander Zeal's single word carried the weight of the entire council's confusion.
Colonel Mextar's image flickered as he consulted his tactical displays. We're still analyzing the attack methodology, but initial reports suggest they used a combination of cyber warfare and physical infiltration that we frankly didn't think they were capable of. They somehow accessed our communication networks and identified the optimal timing and targeting for maximum effectiveness.
Cyber warfare? Sub-Admiral Fex's serpentine form writhed with agitation.
Their computational technology is barely beyond mechanical calculation devices.
That's what we believed as well, Sub-Admiral.
However, our technical teams have discovered evidence that the humans possess individual portable computational devices with processing capabilities that rival our own tactical computers. Apparently, their entire population has access to these devices, and they've been using them to coordinate resistance activities across their planet.
Admiral Kexthor felt a cold sensation spreading through his thoracic cavity. Colonel, are you telling me that their civilian population has access to military-grade communication and coordination capabilities? Not military-grade by their standards, sir. Consumer-grade.
Apparently, what they consider basic personal communication tools exceed our estimates of their technological capabilities by several orders of magnitude. Every human on the planet can instantly communicate with every other human, share tactical information, and coordinate complex operations in real time. The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of alarmed communication as the implications became clear. They weren't fighting a primitive civilization, they were fighting a completely networked species with instantaneous global coordination capabilities. General Vashti's crystalline features had darkened to a deep amber, indicating extreme stress among her kind. Admiral, I think we need to seriously reconsider our classification of this species as primitive.
Admiral Kextor nodded grimly, his forearms working the controls to display additional intelligence reports. Colonel Mextar, what's the current status of our ground forces? Operational effectiveness has decreased by 37% since yesterday, sir. The humans appear to be learning from every engagement, adapting their tactics faster than we can develop countermeasures. More concerning, they began targeting our supply lines and communication relays with increasing sophistication. Supply lines? Commander Zeal's voice carried a note of genuine alarm. Our supply depots are protected by automated defense systems. We're protected, sir. The humans have demonstrated the ability to disable our automated systems using what they call electronic warfare. They're not just fighting us with conventional weapons, they're fighting us with technology we didn't know they possessed. Admiral Kextor terminated the communication link and turned to face the assembled council. The expressions on their various alien features ranged from confusion to growing alarm. Honored Council, he began formally, I believe we need to seriously reconsider our approach to this operation. What we initially classified as a routine planetary acquisition has become something far more complex and dangerous than our doctrine anticipated. The silence that followed was heavy with implication. For the first time in the Zephyrian Empire's 3,000-year expansion history, they had encountered a species that was not only refusing to surrender but was actively gaining ground against their occupying forces. 3 days had passed since Admiral Kextor's troubling report to the War Council, and the situation on Sol 3 had deteriorated beyond anyone's worst projections. The emergency session convened in the Council's secure chamber bore little resemblance to the confident gathering that had initially approved the invasion. High Chancellor Vex Nal presided over the meeting, her ancient form commanding attention despite the obvious strain etched across her weathered features. At over 800 years old, she had overseen more successful planetary acquisitions than any other being in the Empire's history. The fact that she had personally requested this emergency session spoke volumes about the gravity of their situation. Admiral Kextor, her voice carried the weight of centuries of authority, your latest reports make for disturbing reading. Please brief the Council on current operational status. The Admiral's forearms moved with mechanical precision as he activated the holographic display system. The familiar blue glow filled the chamber, but, instead of the confident tactical assessments of previous meetings, the data streams painted a picture of systematic military degradation. High Chancellor, esteemed Council members, Kextor began, his usual confidence noticeably absent, our operational capacity on Sol 3 has declined to critical levels. Of our original deployment of 47 surface bases, only 12 remain fully operational. 18 have been completely overrun, and the remainder are operating under siege conditions. General Vashti's crystalline form had taken on a deep red hue, indicating extreme agitation among her species. Overrun? How is that possible? Our bases were designed to withstand assault from Class A military forces. That's precisely the problem, General, Kextor replied, manipulating the display to show battlefield recordings. Our defensive systems were designed to repel conventional military attacks. The humans don't fight conventionally. The hologram displayed footage from the fall of Surface Base Gamma. Instead of the expected frontal assault with organized military units, the recording showed something far more disturbing, what appeared to be ordinary humans using improvised weapons and tactics that systematically exploited vulnerabilities in Zephyrian defensive doctrine. Observe this sequence carefully, Kextor narrated as the recording played. The attack begins not with direct assault, but with what they call social engineering. A human female, appearing to be a non-combatant refugee, approaches our perimeter guards requesting medical assistance for injured companions. The Council watched as a middle-aged human woman, carrying what appeared to be a wounded child, approached the base's main gate. The Zephyrian guards, following standard humanitarian protocols, allowed her to approach for medical screening. While our medical team was examining the injured child, Kextor continued, the woman deployed a localized electromagnetic pulse device that disabled our gate control systems and communication arrays. Simultaneously, coordinated strikes began at 17 different points around our perimeter. The holographic display showed the base's defensive systems failing in cascading sequence as precisely timed attacks hit critical infrastructure nodes. What made the footage particularly disturbing was the attackers themselves. They weren't soldiers in the conventional sense, but appeared to be civilians using improvised weapons with devastating effectiveness. Commander Zeal's massive bulk shifted uneasily. Those weapons, where did they acquire such sophisticated equipment? They didn't acquire them, Commander. They built them, Kextor replied grimly.
Intelligence analysis indicates that these electromagnetic pulse devices were constructed using components salvaged from our own destroyed vehicles, combined with technology scavenged from their civilian infrastructure. Sub-Admiral Fex coiled more tightly, his serpentine form betraying his species' stress response.
Are you telling us they're using our own technology against us?
Not just using it, improving it, Kextor confirmed. Our technical analysis teams have recovered several human-manufactured weapons that actually outperform our standard equipment in specific applications. They've somehow managed to reverse engineer our technology and adapt it to their manufacturing capabilities within a matter of days. High Chancellor Vex Nal leaned forward, her ancient eyes focusing intently on the Admiral. Explain how a primitive species could achieve such rapid technological advancement.
Kextor brought up a new set of data streams showing human industrial activity. Our surveillance indicates that their manufacturing approach is fundamentally different from our own.
Where we rely on centralized production facilities, they've created what they call distributed manufacturing networks, thousands of small production sites that can rapidly switch between manufacturing different types of equipment. The display showed aerial footage of human cities where ordinary buildings had been converted into weapons production facilities. Shops, schools, residential areas, and even entertainment venues were producing military equipment around the clock.
More concerning, Kextor continued, is their approach to innovation.
Instead of relying on centralized research and development, they've created what they call open-source warfare, sharing technological improvements instantly across their global communication network. When one group develops an effective weapon or tactic, the entire species has access to that knowledge within hours.
General Vashti's crystalline features flickered between red and amber. That's impossible. No species could maintain technological security with such an approach. They don't want technological security, Kextor replied. They want technological proliferation.
Their entire approach to warfare is based on the principle that rapid adaptation and improvement across their entire population is more valuable than protecting specialized knowledge.
The implications were staggering.
The Zephyrian military doctrine was built around technological superiority and centralized command structures. The humans had created a completely decentralized resistance network that treated every individual as both a research and development facility and a manufacturing center.
Show me their command structure, High Chancellor Vex Nal demanded. That's where the situation becomes even more complex, Kextor admitted.
Our intelligence teams have been unable to identify a centralized command structure. The humans appear to be operating under what they call emergent leadership. Tactical commanders arise naturally based on local conditions and expertise, coordinate specific operations, and then dissolve back into the general population.
The holographic display showed communication intercepts from human resistance networks.
Instead of the hierarchical military communications the Zephyrians expected, they found a chaotic but apparently effective web of interconnected small groups that shared information freely but operated independently.
Without centralized command, how can we negotiate surrender? Sub-Admiral Fex inquired. That's exactly the problem, Kextor replied. There's no central authority to surrender. Even if we eliminated every human leader we could identify, new leaders would emerge from the population within hours.
They've essentially created a military structure with no critical points of failure.
Commander Zeal rumbled his displeasure. What about their population centers? Surely threatening their cities would force compliance? Kextor's mandibles clicked nervously.
We tried that approach on day 4. We selected one of their smaller cities and delivered an ultimatum: cease resistance or face bombardment.
And?
General Vashti prompted. They responded by evacuating the city's non-combatant population and fortifying it as a military stronghold. Then, they broadcast a global message stating that any city we threatened would become a fortress of defiance and that attacking civilian populations would only increase their resistance. The hologram showed aerial footage of the evacuated city, now bristling with improvised defensive positions and weapons emplacements. What had been a peaceful urban center had been transformed into a fortress within 18 hours.
More problematically, Kextor continued, intelligence indicates that our ultimatum actually increased recruitment for their resistance networks.
Apparently, threats against their population centers trigger what they call protective response behavior across their entire species.
High Chancellor Vex Nal's expression grew increasingly grim. Admiral, are you telling me that our standard pacification protocols are actually strengthening their resistance? Not just strengthening it, unifying it, Kextor confirmed. Prior to our invasion, the humans were divided into hundreds of separate political entities with significant intergroup conflicts. Our attack has apparently triggered a species-wide unification response that has eliminated these divisions almost overnight. The display showed pre-invasion political maps of Sol 3, with hundreds of different territorial boundaries and political systems. A second map showed current resistance activity. The boundaries had disappeared, replaced by a seamless global network of coordinated resistance cells. Their species appears to have an evolutionary adaptation for responding to existential threats, Kextor explained. When faced with external danger, they automatically subordinate internal conflicts to focus on the common threat. We've essentially triggered a planetary immune response. The council chamber fell silent as the members absorbed the implications. They weren't just fighting a military force, they were fighting an entire species that had evolved specifically for survival under extreme adversity. What about their military casualties? Commander Zeal asked. Surely they're taking unsustainable losses. Kextor's expression grew even more troubled. That's perhaps the most disturbing aspect of this conflict. Our casualty estimates suggest they should have exhausted their fighting age population weeks ago. Instead, their operational capacity continues to increase. Impossible, General Vashti stated flatly. I thought so as well, Kextor replied, bringing up demographic analysis data. However, our intelligence teams have discovered that their definition of fighting age population includes virtually every member of their species. We've documented active combatants ranging from juveniles as young as 12 local years to elderly individuals over 90 years old. The holographic display showed a disturbing array of surveillance footage: elderly humans constructing explosive devices, children serving as scouts and communication relays, and adolescents operating sophisticated weapons systems. Their cultural approach to warfare includes the entire population regardless of age or physical capability, Kextor continued. Each individual contributes according to their abilities: physical combat, technical support, intelligence gathering, logistics, medical care, or psychological warfare. Sub-Admiral Fex's serpentine form writhed with agitation. Psychological warfare? What could primitives know about psychological warfare? More than we anticipated, Kextor replied grimly. They've been broadcasting continuous transmissions targeting our forces with what they call propaganda warfare. These messages are specifically designed to undermine morale and create doubt about the righteousness of our mission. The display showed examples of human psychological warfare techniques. Instead of the crude intimidation tactics the Zephyrians expected, they found sophisticated presentations that questioned the moral foundation of the invasion and highlighted inconsistencies in Imperial doctrine. Some of these broadcasts have been so effective that we've had to implement communication blackouts for certain units, Kextor admitted. Several commanders have reported decreased operational effectiveness among troops exposed to human psychological warfare techniques. High Chancellor Vexin Al rose from her chair, her ancient form moving with deliberate gravity. Admiral, I need a direct assessment. In your professional opinion, what is our likelihood of achieving operational objectives within acceptable timeframes and casualty parameters? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. Admiral Kextor's forearms worked the controls, bringing up comprehensive operational projections based on current trends. High Chancellor, based on current operational degradation rates and human adaptation capabilities, our forces will reach critical operational threshold within 37 standard days. Complete mission failure is projected within 73 days. The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time in the Empire's expansion history, they faced not just the possibility of failure, but the certainty of it. Furthermore, Kextor continued, his voice barely above a whisper, our xenoanthropology teams have identified patterns in human behavior that suggest this conflict may have consequences far beyond our initial operational parameters. Explain, the High Chancellor demanded. The humans are documenting everything, High Chancellor. Every battle, every tactic, every technological innovation. They're not just fighting for survival, they're studying us. Learning about us. Preparing for what they seem to believe will be future conflicts with other galactic civilizations. The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. They weren't just facing military defeat, they were creating a species-wide education program that would prepare humanity for expansion beyond their home world. Sir, Admiral Kextor concluded, I believe we may have accidentally triggered the emergence of the most dangerous military force the galaxy has ever seen. The emergency klaxons throughout the Zephyrian flagship created a symphony of alarm as Admiral Kextor rushed toward the command center.
6 days had passed since his last report to the War Council, and every day had brought fresh catastrophes that challenged everything the Empire thought it knew about warfare. The command center bustled with frantic activity as junior officers coordinated what remained of their surface operations. The main tactical display showed a planet that no longer resembled the primitive world they had initially invaded. Instead of scattered resistance cells, Sol 3 now displayed the characteristics of a fully militarized civilization with technological capabilities that defied every projection in their invasion planning. Admiral Commander Yextar, the ship's tactical officer, approached with urgency that bordered on panic. "We've received multiple priority transmissions from surviving ground commanders. The situation has evolved." Kexthor's mandibles clicked with nervous energy as he reviewed the incoming data streams. The tactical readouts painted a picture of systematic military collapse on a scale that would have been unthinkable weeks earlier. "Report," he commanded, his forearms working to access communication channels from their remaining surface assets. "Sir, the humans have begun what they call offensive operations," Commander Yextar explained, highlighting specific sectors on the tactical display. "They're no longer content to simply resist our occupation. They're actively hunting our forces." The main screen displayed footage from Surface Base Delta, one of their few remaining strongholds. Instead of the defensive siege conditions that had characterized recent weeks, the base was under sustained assault from coordinated human forces using equipment that rivaled Zephyrian military technology. "How is this possible?" Kexthor muttered, studying the attack patterns. "Their manufacturing capabilities couldn't have developed this rapidly." "That's where the situation becomes truly concerning, Admiral," Commander Yextar replied. "Intelligence indicates they're not just manufacturing weapons anymore. They've begun manufacturing production facilities. Their industrial capacity is expanding exponentially." The display showed aerial reconnaissance of human territories. What had been civilian areas weeks earlier were now massive industrial complexes, churning out weapons, vehicles, and equipment at rates that exceeded most galactic civilizations' production capabilities. Furthermore, Commander Yextar continued, "They've demonstrated capabilities we never detected during our pre-invasion reconnaissance. Watch this." The screen switched to show a recording from the previous day's engagement. A squad of Zephyrian soldiers was conducting a routine patrol when they suddenly began falling to precisely targeted energy weapons fired from positions that appeared to be empty terrain. Enhanced analysis reveals that the humans have developed personal camouflage technology that renders them effectively invisible to our detection systems, Commander Yextar explained. "They're not just hiding, they're using some form of adaptive optical camouflage that we can't penetrate with standard sensors." Kexthor studied the footage with growing alarm. The technology displayed was beyond anything they had encountered in the galaxy's more advanced civilizations. How could they develop such sophisticated systems so quickly? According to our technical analysis teams, they didn't develop it recently. They've apparently possessed this technology for decades but had concealed it during our reconnaissance operations. Our intelligence estimates suggest that everything we observed during pre-invasion surveys was deliberately misleading. The implications were staggering. If the humans had been intentionally hiding their technological capabilities, it meant they had anticipated and prepared for exactly this type of invasion. "Sir," Commander Yextar's voice carried a note of barely controlled fear, "there's more. The humans have begun targeting our orbital assets." Kexthor's forearms froze in mid-motion. "Impossible. They lack the capability to reach orbital altitude with weapons systems." "That's what we believed, Admiral. However, 3 hours ago, they successfully destroyed Orbital Platform 7 using what appears to be a kinetic projectile launched from their planetary surface." The tactical display shifted to show the debris field that had been Orbital Platform 7. The precision of the attack was evident. A single projectile had struck the platform's reactor core, creating a controlled explosion that eliminated the installation while minimizing debris that could threaten other orbital assets. The projectile's trajectory and impact characteristics suggest a level of computational precision that rivals our own orbital bombardment systems, Commander Yextar continued. "They somehow calculated and compensated for gravitational effects, atmospheric disturbance, and platform movement with perfect accuracy." Admiral Kexthor felt something he hadn't experienced since his academy days: genuine fear. "Commander, show me our current operational assessment." The display updated to show comprehensive fleet status. Of their original invasion force, 63% of surface assets had been eliminated or compromised. Orbital assets were down 37%. Most critically, their logistics network was operating at only 42% capacity due to systematic attacks on supply convoys. Admiral, Commander Yextar's voice dropped to almost a whisper. The humans have begun broadcasting messages directed specifically at our fleet.
What kind of messages? Surrender demands, sir. They're demanding that we surrender to them. The command center fell silent except for the omnipresent hum of ship systems.
The idea that a primitive species would demand the surrender of a Zephyrian Imperial fleet was so absurd that it took several moments for the full implications to register.
Show me these transmissions, Kextor commanded.
The main screen displayed a human male wearing what appeared to be a military uniform adorned with symbols that suggested high rank within their species hierarchy. The being's expression was calm, confident, and utterly unintimidated by the prospect of addressing the galaxy's most powerful military force.
This is Admiral Chan Weiming of the United Earth Defense Fleet, transmitting to the Zephyrian Invasion Force.
Your continued military operations against Earth constitute an act of aggressive war against a sovereign planetary civilization. We hereby demand the immediate cessation of hostilities and the withdrawal of all Zephyrian forces from Earth orbit and airspace.
The transmission continued, but Admiral Kextor was focused on the details visible in the background.
The human appeared to be broadcasting from what looked like a sophisticated military command center with technology that appeared remarkably advanced for a supposedly primitive civilization. You have 48 hours to comply with this demand, the human admiral continued.
Failure to withdraw will result in the implementation of defensive measures that will ensure the permanent removal of all hostile forces from Earth's sphere of influence. The transmission ended, leaving the Zephyrian command center in stunned silence.
Finally, Commander Yextar spoke. Sir, analysis of the transmission's origin point suggests it was broadcast from beneath their planetary surface. Deep scan penetration indicates massive underground facilities that were completely undetected during our reconnaissance operations.
Underground facilities?
Kextor's voice carried a note of growing dread.
Extensive ones, Admiral.
Our latest geological surveys suggest that the humans have constructed a planetary defense network that includes underground cities, manufacturing complexes, and what appear to be military installations with capabilities that exceed our own. The tactical display showed cross-section analyses of Sol 3's continental masses. Instead of the simple surface civilization they had expected, the planet revealed itself to be honeycombed with sophisticated underground installations that connected in a global network of staggering complexity.
How long have these facilities existed? Kextor asked.
Dating analysis suggests construction began over 50 local years ago, with major expansion occurring within the last 2 decades.
Admiral, the humans have been preparing for interplanetary warfare for generations.
The revelation hit Kextor like a physical blow. They hadn't invaded a primitive world, they had invaded a fortress planet that had been specifically designed to repel exactly the type of attack they had mounted. Sir, Commander Yextar continued, there's one more thing. Our xenoarchaeology teams have been analyzing human historical records, and they've made a disturbing discovery.
Go on.
The humans have written extensive theoretical works about interstellar warfare, planetary defense, and conflict with technologically superior alien civilizations. These works date back over a century and include detailed tactical and strategic planning for exactly the type of invasion we've conducted.
The display showed excerpts from human literature and academic works.
Titles like The Art of Planetary War, Defending Earth, Strategies for Asymmetric Interstellar Conflict, and Guerrilla Warfare in 3 Dimensions filled the screen. They've been studying galactic warfare for longer than we've been aware of their existence, Commander Yextar explained. Every tactic we've employed, every strategy we've implemented, has been analyzed and countered in their academic and military literature. Admiral Kextor realized with growing horror that they hadn't just underestimated their enemy, they had walked directly into a trap that had been prepared decades in advance. Furthermore, Commander Yextar continued, analysis of their recent technological developments suggests that they've been reverse engineering technology from crashed alien vessels for the past 70 local years.
Their rapid adaptation to our weapons isn't improvisation, it's the culmination of decades of preparation. Crashed alien vessels?
Kextor's voice barely registered above a whisper.
Yes, Admiral.
It appears that Earth has been visited by multiple alien species over the past century, and the humans have been collecting and studying every piece of technology they could recover. They've essentially been conducting their own technological development program specifically focused on countering alien military capabilities. The implications were overwhelming. The humans weren't a primitive species that had suddenly adapted to galactic warfare, they were a species that had been preparing for galactic warfare longer than most civilizations had been aware of their existence. "Sir," Commander Yextar's voice interrupted his thoughts, "we're receiving another transmission from the planetary surface." The main screen activated to show a different human, this one wearing what appeared to be civilian clothing but speaking with unmistakable authority. "This is Secretary General Maria Santos of the United Earth Coalition, speaking to the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. We are aware that your invasion represents the opening phase of a broader galactic expansion effort by your empire. We wish to inform you that Earth's response to your aggression will not be limited to defensive operations within our solar system." The human leader's expression was calm, almost friendly, but her words carried implications that chilled Admiral Kextor to his core. "We have determined that the most effective defense against interstellar aggression is to ensure that aggressive civilizations are permanently incapable of threatening peaceful worlds. Therefore, Earth's military response will not end with the defeat of your invasion force. It will end with the complete military neutralization of the Zephyrian Empire and any other galactic civilizations that support interstellar warfare." The transmission paused, allowing the implications to sink in. The humans weren't just defending their world, they were declaring war on the entire concept of galactic expansion through military conquest. "We have prepared our response for many decades," Secretary General Santos continued. "Our fleet construction programs have been operating in concealment for the past 30 years. Our technological development programs have focused specifically on countering the military capabilities of aggressive interstellar civilizations. Our strategic planning has been designed to ensure that no species will ever again face the threat of unprovoked interstellar invasion." Admiral Kextor felt his thoracic cavity constricting as the full scope of their situation became clear. They hadn't just invaded a world, they had triggered a war with a species that had been preparing to fight the entire galaxy. "Earth's defensive fleet will launch in 72 hours, the human leader concluded. Our destination will be every Zephyrian military installation within 50 light-years of Earth. We estimate that complete pacification of Zephyrian military capabilities will require approximately 6 months. We strongly advise any civilian populations within Zephyrian space to prepare for temporary occupation by Earth defense forces until new governmental systems can be established." The transmission ended, leaving the Zephyrian command center in absolute silence. Finally, Admiral Kextor found his voice. "Commander, send an immediate priority transmission to High Command. Tell them." He paused, struggling to find words adequate to the situation. "Tell them that we haven't just failed to conquer a primitive world. We've accidentally declared war on a military superpower that's been preparing to conquer the galaxy for longer than we've been preparing to defend it." The Zephyrian High Command Chamber had been transformed into a crisis management center, with holographic displays covering every available surface and communication channels operating at maximum capacity. High Chancellor Vexanael stood at the center of it all, her ancient form radiating an authority that had guided the Empire through 3 millennia of successful expansion. Today, however, even her legendary composure showed cracks under the weight of the unfolding catastrophe. "Fleet Admiral Zexkai," she addressed the Empire's highest military commander, "your assessment of Admiral Kextor's reports?" Fleet Admiral Zexkai, whose massive form dominated the central command platform, manipulated multiple holographic interfaces simultaneously with his 6 manipulator arms. The data flowing across the displays painted the darkest picture in Imperial military history. "High Chancellor, I've completed analysis of all field reports from the Sol 3 operation. The situation has moved far beyond mission parameters and now threatens the fundamental security of the Empire itself." The assembled command staff, generals, admirals, intelligence directors, and strategic advisors from across the galaxy focused intently on his words. Many of these beings had centuries of military experience spanning dozens of successful planetary acquisitions. None had ever seen threat assessments like those currently flowing through their analysis systems. "The humans have demonstrated capabilities that fundamentally challenge our understanding of technological development timelines," Fleet Admiral Zexkai continued. "Standard xenoarchaeological analysis suggests that advanced spacefaring civilizations require between 8 and 12 millennia to develop the technological and social structures necessary for interstellar warfare. The humans have achieved this in approximately 4 centuries. Intelligence Director Colby YSS, her cybernetic implants glowing with processing activity, interjected with additional data. "Fleet Admiral, our xenoanthropology teams have identified the mechanism behind their accelerated development. The humans practice what they call warfare-driven innovation, deliberately creating conflict situations to accelerate technological and social advancement. The holographic displays shifted to show human historical analysis. Instead of the gradual technological progression common to most civilizations, human development showed exponential curves driven by periods of intensive warfare. Unlike other species that develop technology to avoid conflict, Intelligence Director Colby YSS continued, humans appear to have developed conflict to accelerate technology. Their entire civilization has been optimized for rapid adaptation under extreme pressure. High Chancellor Vex NAL studied the data with growing alarm. Are you suggesting that their species has intentionally cultivated warfare as a developmental tool? Not just cultivated it, High Chancellor, perfected it, Fleet Admiral Zexkai replied. Their historical records indicate that they've maintained continuous low-level warfare for their entire recorded history, with periodic escalations designed to drive innovation in specific technological sectors. The implications were staggering. While most civilizations developed technology to create stability and peace, the humans had developed war to create technology and advancement. Furthermore, Intelligence Director Colby YSS added, analysis of their recent military innovations suggests that our invasion has triggered what they call total war mobilization, a species-wide transformation that converts their entire civilization into a military production and innovation system. The displays showed real-time reconnaissance of Sol 3. What had been a peaceful planet weeks earlier now resembled a massive military-industrial complex, with every city, town, and settlement contributing to warfare production at levels that exceeded most species' capacity for total economic output. High Chancellor, a new voice interrupted from the communications center. We're receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Kexthor's fleet. He reports imminent contact with human spacecraft. Human spacecraft? High Chancellor Vex NAL's voice carried disbelief. They lack interplanetary capabilities. Apparently not, High Chancellor, the communications officer replied grimly. Admiral Kexthor reports that approximately 200 human vessels have emerged from concealment within their asteroid belt and are approaching his fleet at velocities that exceed our maximum combat speed. The chamber erupted in alarmed communication as the assembled commanders struggled to process this information. Fleet Admiral Zexkai rapidly accessed the incoming tactical data. Impossible, he muttered, studying the sensor readings. These vessels display technological signatures that rival our most advanced warships. Where did they acquire such capabilities? Sir, the communications officer continued, Admiral Kexthor also reports that the human vessels are broadcasting on all Imperial communication frequencies in perfect Zephyrian military protocol. A chill settled over the command chamber. The implications of humans possessing knowledge of Imperial military communications went far beyond simple technological espionage. Put Admiral Kexthor through immediately, High Chancellor Vex NAL commanded. The main display activated to show Admiral Kexthor's strained features. Behind him, the command center was in chaos as officers coordinated what appeared to be emergency battle stations. High Chancellor, Kexthor's voice carried barely controlled panic. The human fleet has established formation approximately 10,000 kilometers off our starboard formation. They're requesting communications under what they claim is Standard Galactic Military Protocol. Standard Galactic Military Protocol? Fleet Admiral Zexkai's voice registered confusion. No such protocol exists. That's a purely theoretical construct from the Academy's Xena Military Studies program. That's what I thought as well, Fleet Admiral. However, the humans seem to have developed actual implementation guidelines for theoretical protocols that we've only discussed in academic contexts. High Chancellor Vex NAL felt a cold realization creeping through her consciousness. Admiral, are you telling me that the humans have been monitoring our academic and theoretical military discussions? It appears so, High Chancellor. The communication protocols they're using include elements from classified strategic planning documents that should have been impossible for them to access. Intelligence Director Colby YSS's cybernetic implants flared with processing activity. High Chancellor, this suggests a level of intelligence penetration that goes far beyond anything we've previously encountered. If the humans have access to our theoretical military frameworks, they may have been preparing countermeasures for Imperial tactics that we've never actually implemented. The implications were terrifying. The humans weren't just adapting to Imperial military doctrine, they had been studying it, analyzing it, and preparing counters for it for decades. Admiral Kexthor, High Chancellor Vex NAL's voice carried the weight of her authority. What exactly are the humans requesting? They're demanding a formal military conference to discuss terms for our surrender, High Chancellor. They claim that continued resistance will result in what they call immediate military pacification of all Imperial assets within this star system. The silence that followed was broken only by the hum of processing systems struggling to analyze the flood of incoming data. Finally, Fleet Admiral Zexkai spoke. Admiral, what's your assessment of their military capabilities? Sir, their vessels display energy signatures that suggest weapons and defensive systems comparable to or exceeding our own. More concerning, their formation discipline and tactical positioning indicate military training that rivals Imperial Naval Academy standards. High Chancellor Vex Nal studied the tactical displays showing the human fleet. The formation was perfect textbook Imperial fleet doctrine executed with precision that spoke to decades of training and preparation. Admiral, establish communication with the human fleet commander, she commanded. I want to speak with these beings directly. The display shifted to show the bridge of what was unmistakably a human warship. The technological sophistication was immediately apparent: control systems, display interfaces, and communication equipment that in many cases appeared superior to Imperial equivalents. A human female in what appeared to be a formal military uniform faced the camera. Her expression was calm, professional, and utterly confident. I am Fleet Admiral Sarah Chin of the Earth Defense Navy, the human began, speaking in perfect Zephyrian despite the obvious physiological challenges of producing their language sounds. I am authorized to negotiate the terms of Zephyrian Imperial surrender in this star system. High Chancellor Vex Nal felt her ancient composure finally cracking. Fleet Admiral, I am High Chancellor Vex Nal of the Zephyrian Empire. By what authority do you demand our surrender? By the authority of superior military force, High Chancellor, and by the principles of interstellar law as established by the Galactic Convention on Interspecies Warfare. The Galactic Convention on Interspecies Warfare is a theoretical framework developed by our diplomatic academy, Fleet Admiral Zexkai interjected. It has never been formally adopted by any galactic civilization. That is correct, Fleet Admiral Chen replied calmly. However, Earth has unilaterally adopted and implemented these protocols as the basis for our interactions with interstellar civilizations. We consider any species that engages in unprovoked interstellar aggression to be in violation of these principles and subject to military response. Intelligence Director Colby YSS's implants flared as she processed this information. Fleet Admiral Chen, are you claiming that Earth has implemented theoretical galactic governance protocols as actual policy? Not just implemented them, improved them, the human replied. Our analysis indicated several flaws in the original theoretical framework, which we have corrected in our implementation. We are prepared to share these improvements with any civilization willing to adopt peaceful interstellar relations. High Chancellor Vex Nal realized with growing dread that they were dealing with a species that had taken the Empire's own theoretical work and transformed it into practical policy frameworks for galactic governance. Fleet Admiral Chen, she said carefully, what exactly are you proposing? Complete withdrawal of all Zephyrian military forces from Earth space, formal recognition of Earth's sovereignty and territorial claims within this star system, reparations for damages caused during your invasion, and agreement to submit to Earth's authority in all future interstellar disputes within this sector. The demands were so comprehensive and presumptuous that several of the Imperial commanders began vocalizing their outrage. Fleet Admiral Chen continued speaking over their protests. Furthermore, the Zephyrian Empire will provide complete technological and intelligence briefings on all other aggressive civilizations operating within 50 light-years of Earth, will submit to ongoing inspection and monitoring of your military capabilities, and will serve as Earth's primary intelligence source for identifying and preventing future interstellar conflicts. Unacceptable, Fleet Admiral Zexkai declared. The Zephyrian Empire does not surrender to primitive civilizations. Fleet Admiral Chen's expression remained calm. Fleet Admiral, our analysis suggests that you may have misunderstood the relative power dynamics in this situation. Allow me to provide clarification. The transmission shifted to show tactical displays from the human ships. The readings they displayed indicated detection of every Imperial vessel in the star system, not just those in the immediate area, but every ship, base, and installation throughout the entire system. Our deep space monitoring has cataloged all Imperial assets within this star system, Fleet Admiral Chen continued. Our tactical analysis indicates that complete elimination of all Imperial military forces can be accomplished within approximately 4 hours using conventional weapons systems. The display showed targeting solutions for every Imperial vessel and installation. The precision was perfect, the coverage was complete, and the implied firepower was overwhelming. However, Fleet Admiral Chen continued, Earth prefers to resolve conflicts through negotiation rather than destruction. We are prepared to accept the peaceful withdrawal of Imperial forces and the establishment of formal diplomatic relations based on equality and mutual respect. High Chancellor Vex Nal found herself facing a choice that no Imperial leader had ever confronted: surrender to a supposedly primitive species, or face the possibility of complete military annihilation. Fleet Admiral Chen, she said slowly, what guarantee do you offer that Earth will limit its military response to this star system? The human smile was neither warm nor reassuring. High Chancellor, Earth's military response will be proportionate to the threat posed by aggressive interstellar civilizations. If the Zephyrian Empire abandons its expansionist policies and commits to peaceful interstellar relations, Earth will have no reason to extend military operations beyond the defense of our own territory. And if we refuse? Fleet Admiral Zexkai asked. Then, Earth will implement our long-term strategic plan for ensuring galactic peace through the elimination of aggressive civilizations' capacity for interstellar warfare, Fleet Admiral Chen replied matter-of-factly. Our current projections indicate that complete pacification of all identified aggressive civilizations within our sphere of influence will require approximately 18 months. The human was talking about conquering a significant portion of the galaxy as if it were a routine military operation. High Chancellor Vex Nal realized that the Empire faced a choice between humiliating surrender and potential extinction. For the first time in 3,000 years of expansion, the Zephyrian Empire had encountered a force they could not defeat. Fleet Admiral Chen, she said finally, I believe we need to discuss terms. 6 months after the formal surrender of the Zephyrian Empire to Earth Defense Forces, the galaxy had become a very different place. The Great Conference Hall aboard the neutral space station Nexus Prime hosted what historians would later record as the most significant interstellar gathering in galactic history, the First Galactic Peace Convention. High Chancellor Vex Nal sat at what had once been the head of the Imperial delegation, now designated simply as the Zephyrian Territorial Representative. Around the massive circular table, delegates from 47 different civilizations observed the proceedings with mixtures of fascination, fear, and grudging respect. At the center of it all, Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen presided over the gathering with the calm authority of someone who had fundamentally altered the balance of power in their section of the galaxy. The session will come to order, Admiral Chen announced, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems that allowed dozens of different species to communicate. Today's agenda includes the formal presentation of the Terran Interstellar Security Framework and the establishment of permanent peacekeeping protocols. Ambassador Telvar of the Andromedian Coalition shifted nervously in his environmental suit. Like many of the delegates, his civilization had initially considered the human demands to be an elaborate form of diplomatic theater. The reality of Earth's military capabilities had been driven home through 6 months of systematic demonstration. Admiral Chen, Ambassador Telvar began carefully, the coalition wishes to formally acknowledge Earth's unprecedented approach to interstellar relations. However, many of our member civilizations remain concerned about the long-term implications of your security framework. Admiral Chen's expression remained professionally neutral. Ambassador, please specify your concerns so that we can address them constructively. The framework essentially grants Earth unilateral authority to determine what constitutes aggressive behavior by interstellar civilizations, Ambassador Telvar replied. Many coalition members feel this creates an uncomfortable precedent for galactic governance. Ambassador, Admiral Chen replied calmly, Earth's authority extends only to preventing unprovoked military aggression between civilizations. We have no interest in governing other species' internal affairs or peaceful interactions. High Chancellor Vex Nal found herself in the surreal position of supporting the humans who had humiliated her empire. Ambassador Telvar, if I may interject based on our experience with Earth's administration of the security framework. She paused, still struggling with the reality that she was defending her former enemies. 6 months of Earth's occupation had been nothing like the brutal subjugation the Empire had expected. Earth's approach has been remarkably restrained, she continued. They focused exclusively on dismantling our military capacity for interstellar aggression while leaving our civilian government and social systems completely intact. Our citizens have actually experienced improved living conditions under their oversight. Ambassador Kexloth of the Centauri hegemony, whose crystalline form refracted the chamber's lighting into complex patterns, resonated with harmonics that indicated skepticism. High Chancellor, forgive me, but your endorsement of our former enemies seems convenient.
Ambassador Kexloth, Admiral Chen interjected, perhaps we should review the actual implementation record rather than speculating about motivations.
The chamber's holographic display activated to show comprehensive data about Earth's administration of formerly aggressive civilizations. The statistics were remarkable: crime rates had decreased, economic productivity had increased, and civilian satisfaction indices showed significant improvement across all administered territories. Earth's peacekeeping model focuses on converting military resources to civilian infrastructure development, Admiral Chen explained. Former military personnel are retrained for engineering, education, and social services roles. Military production facilities are converted to civilian manufacturing. Military research programs are redirected toward medical, agricultural, and environmental applications. Delegate Vashka of the Regelian Union, whose tentacle form writhed with nervous energy, spoke up. Admiral Chen, our intelligence services have attempted to analyze Earth's military capabilities, and, frankly, we're unable to understand how your species developed such advanced technology so quickly.
Admiral Chen's smile carried a hint of amusement. Delegate Vashka, I believe that's exactly the point. Earth's approach to technological development is fundamentally different from most galactic civilizations. The display shifted to show comparative technological development timelines. While most species showed gradual, steady advancement over millennia, Earth's development showed explosive growth concentrated into extremely short periods. Most civilizations develop technology to create stability and comfort, Admiral Chen continued. Earth developed technology to solve problems and overcome challenges. When we face a difficult situation, our instinct is to innovate our way through it rather than accept limitations. Intelligence Director Colby YSS, who had requested permission to attend despite the Zephyrian Empire's diminished status, activated her cybernetic implants to access additional data. Admiral Chen, our analysis suggests that Earth's technological capabilities continue to advance at exponential rates even during peacetime. How do you maintain such development without external pressure? Director Colby YSS, Earth maintains development through what we call challenge-seeking behavior. When external challenges don't exist, we create internal ones. Our entire civilization is structured around continuous improvement and problem-solving. The implications were sobering.
While other civilizations reached technological plateaus and settled into stable patterns, humanity appeared to be constitutionally incapable of stopping their advancement. Furthermore, Admiral Chen continued, our approach to interstellar relations is based on the recognition that technological stagnation leads to social stagnation, which eventually leads to the kind of aggressive expansion that creates interstellar conflict.
High Chancellor Vex Nal realized the profundity of what Admiral Chen was suggesting. Are you saying that the Empire's expansion was caused by internal stagnation rather than genuine resource needs?
Exactly, High Chancellor. Our analysis of Zephyrian society indicates that your empire had reached a technological and social development plateau approximately 800 years ago. Expansion became a substitute for internal growth and innovation. The chamber fell silent as delegates contemplated this analysis. Many of their civilizations showed similar patterns, periods of rapid development followed by long plateaus and eventual expansion to maintain social momentum. Earth's security framework is designed to break this cycle, Admiral Chen continued. Instead of allowing civilizations to stagnate and, then, become aggressive, we're implementing mandatory innovation and development programs for all administered territories. Delegate Yextar of the Outer Rim Collective, whose gaseous form shimmered within a containment field, pulsed with colors that indicated confusion.
Admiral, are you saying that Earth intends to force other civilizations to continue developing?
Not force, Delegate Yextar, encourage and facilitate. We found that civilizations with active development programs and continuous innovation challenges don't develop the social pressures that lead to aggressive expansion.
The display showed preliminary results from Earth's development programs in former imperial territories.
Technological advancement had resumed, social satisfaction had increased, and, most significantly, aggressive tendencies had virtually disappeared.
But, what about resource limitations? Ambassador Kexloth asked.
Eventually, every civilization exhausts the resources available in their home systems.
Admiral Chen's smile broadened. Ambassador, that assumes that resource consumption remains constant as technology advances.
Earth's experience suggests the opposite. Advanced technology typically reduces resource requirements while increasing efficiency and developing alternatives.
The display showed Earth's own resource utilization patterns.
Despite supporting a large population and massive industrial capacity, their actual resource consumption had decreased steadily as their technology advanced. Moreover, Admiral Chen continued, our expansion model is based on cooperation rather than conquest. When civilizations need additional resources, we facilitate joint development projects and resource sharing agreements rather than territorial acquisition. Delegate Thex NAR of the Spiral Arm Alliance, whose bioluminescent patches flashed with rapid communication patterns, expressed what many delegates were thinking. Admiral Chen, your proposals sound idealistic, but how do you enforce compliance with these frameworks across such diverse civilizations? Delegate Thex NAR, that's an excellent question. Earth's enforcement model is based on what we call overwhelming defensive capability rather than offensive projection. The chamber's display showed tactical demonstrations of Earth's defensive systems. Instead of massive fleets designed for conquest, Earth had developed technologies that made aggressive action against them virtually impossible while maintaining minimal offensive capabilities. Our defense platforms can neutralize any incoming threat within our sphere of influence, Admiral Chen explained. However, these same systems can also provide protection to any civilization that commits to peaceful development and cooperation. You're offering to extend your defensive umbrella to other civilizations? High Chancellor Vex Nal asked with amazement. Exactly. Any civilization that agrees to the Terran security framework receives full protection from external aggression, access to our technological development programs, and assistance with internal challenges that might otherwise lead to social instability. The offer was unprecedented in galactic history. Instead of demanding tribute or submission, Earth was offering protection and assistance in exchange for peaceful behavior. There is, however, one non-negotiable requirement, Admiral Chen continued, her voice taking on a more serious tone. Any civilization that violates the framework through unprovoked aggression against another species forfeits all protections and becomes subject to immediate military response. The implication was clear: Earth's protection came with the responsibility to maintain peace, but the consequences of violation were absolute. Ambassador Yelvex of the Core Worlds Federation, who had remained silent throughout most of the proceedings, finally spoke. Admiral Chen, assuming our civilizations accept this framework, what becomes of Earth's role in galactic affairs? Do you intend to become a galactic government? Absolutely not, Ambassador. Earth has no interest in governing other species. Our goal is to create a framework where galactic governance becomes unnecessary because aggressive behavior becomes impossible. And, if new aggressive civilizations emerge beyond your current sphere of influence? High Chancellor Vex Nal asked. Admiral Chen's expression grew thoughtful. Then, Earth will extend our sphere of influence as necessary to maintain galactic peace. Our projections suggest that complete pacification of this galactic arm will require approximately 15 years, after which we can focus on expansion into regions currently beyond our monitoring capabilities. The casual mention of conquering an entire galactic arm sent a collective shiver through the assembled delegates. Earth wasn't just changing local interstellar relations, they were proposing to reshape the galaxy itself. However, Admiral Chen continued, our preferred approach is voluntary adoption of the framework. Civilizations that embrace peaceful development and cooperation will find Earth to be a valuable ally and protector. Those that insist on maintaining aggressive capabilities will find themselves increasingly isolated and eventually neutralized. Delegate Mexthor of the Far Reaches Consortium raised a final question. Admiral Chen, what happens when Earth eventually reaches the limits of expansion? Won't you face the same pressures that drove other civilizations to aggression? Admiral Chen's smile suggested she had been expecting this question. Delegate Mexthor, Earth's expansion model isn't based on territorial acquisition, it's based on knowledge and capability acquisition. When we reach the apparent limits of this galaxy, we'll simply shift our focus to the next galaxy, and then, the one beyond that. The silence that followed was profound. Earth wasn't just proposing to pacify their local region of space, they were proposing to expand indefinitely, carrying their peace framework throughout the universe. The universe is vast beyond current comprehension, Admiral Chen concluded. Earth's goal is to ensure that someday, every intelligent species in existence will have the opportunity to develop their full potential without fear of destruction by aggressive neighbors. High Chancellor Vex Nal found herself facing a truth that would have been unthinkable 6 months earlier. The species they had dismissed as primitive had not only defeated the Empire but had revealed themselves to be the most ambitious civilization in galactic history. Admiral Chen, she said finally, on behalf of the Zephyrian people, I formally request admission to the Terran security framework. One by one, the other delegates followed suit. Within the span of a single session, 47 civilizations had voluntarily submitted to the authority of a species that had been completely unknown to them less than a year earlier. As the session concluded, Admiral Chen stood and addressed the gathered delegates one final time. "Welcome to the new galactic order," she said simply. "Earth looks forward to working with all of you to build a future where warfare becomes obsolete and every species can focus on reaching their full potential." High Chancellor Vex Nal realized that her empire's invasion of Sol 3 would be remembered not as a military campaign, but as the moment when the galaxy's future changed forever. They had not just invaded Earth, they had awakened humanity to their role as guardians of galactic peace. And the universe would never be the same.